there just isn't time in the conference otherwise. So that's what this is. This is pretty informal. What I'd like to do is start now and go till 10:50, because if you notice, the end of the session is 11 and the beginning of the session is 11. That won't work. So we'll try to end at 10:50 so you can get to wherever you'd like to go next. We're going to do three things. One, have some introduction so we can all find out who we are and a little bit about our homeschooling. Two, we'll have some time that'll be questions only, brainstorming, thinking of things that we want to talk about, and we'll list all of those. Then we'll go to the discussion, and hopefully between all of us we can answer some of the questions that we put up here. All right, so introductions. I'll start. My name is Cheryl, and I've been homeschooling since we adopted our kids when they were 1. And I don't start when the state starts, at 7. I mean, we started when they were 1. So we have been homeschooling 15 years because they're now 16. And I have 2 children that are twins. So we'll just kind of go around. Brenda, you want to go next?
Okay, I'm Brenda, and I've been Brenda Bailey. I'm here in Sheridan, and I've been homeschooling. Let's see. My oldest is 8. So, and I have 3 daughters.
You've been homeschooling how long?
Well, my oldest is going to be in 8th grade. So,
okay. So
9 years.
Okay. And you have
3 daughters.
3 daughters. Okay. And your oldest is what?
She's 13.
Okay. Going into 8th grade?
Yes.
And then what else?
One is about 4th grade.
Okay.
And then one about 2nd.
Okay. And I know what you mean. They're at 5th grade in math, but some of, yeah. All right. What we're doing is introducing.
I'm Elizabeth.
Okay.
And I'm from here, in Sheridan.
Okay.
And I have I have 3 years experience in homeschooling. I have a 3-year-old.
Okay, there you go. All right. Okay. Beth.
My name is Beth. I'm from Minnesota. Now, originally Wisconsin. I'm trying to figure out how many years homeschooling West Jumbo versus number of children. I have 4 children, and I'm proud to say that my oldest is with me here today, and he's 23. My youngest is 16, so she's my last one to homeschool. We started in 2001 officially homeschooling all 4 children, but before that we had homeschooled Daniel for 2 years on and off in kindergarten and 6th grade for various reasons. So, can you figure that out?
Sure. If you were doing 10 years and 2 years prior, then we can make that 12. Okay. All right. And, all right. And
my name is Pam Penman. I'm from Moxley, Montana. I'm not a homeschooler, but my daughter is 20, and I teach preschool at the Lutheran Church. And,
okay.
Last year I had 52. I'm not quite sure what my numbers are this year.
52 children.
Yeah. Our classical school in the basement that does kindergarten through 6th grade is up and coming. It's their 3rd year, and right now we're looking at, I gave her 7 of my preschoolers, and then she had like 2 of her own. So the numbers are getting up there. I think we're at 10 right now.
So how many do you actually teach at one time?
At one time, 16 is the biggest number.
Okay.
2 classes of 16, 1 of 14, and then 1 is usually a small one, a 2-day afternoon.
Okay. All right, Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen, and I'm from Missouri, where Cheryl's from. And let's see, I have 3 sons who are adults now, and we homeschooled them for a total of 13 years, but I've also been homeschooling other people since then. So I think it's at 18 years now.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, back row.
Okay, my name is Carrie, and I'm from Douglas, Wyoming.
How do you spell your Carrie?
C-A-R-R-I-E.
Okay.
You know, there's like 20 ways. I'm actually not quite, well, I guess that it made me feel good yesterday when you said I really was homeschooling, but my kids are 2 and 4, and we have a classical school 50 miles away in Casper, and he went to the 3-year-old preschool last year, and we're going to maybe try to do the 4, but we've been researching homeschooling, and that's the route we're going to how we go, so, anyway.
Okay.
Very fun.
So, and you have just the 2 boys?
2 boys.
Okay.
2 and 4.
So we'll say not 4. Okay, and then in front?
Nancy Dawn, California.
Wow.
I have twin boys who are almost 11, and my daughter, and one daughter who is 8. I have 2 young together. There's 6, well, Brockton 6, and Preston 4. And we've been homeschooling since the beginning,
So we'll say 11.
yeah.
Okay.
Dan Burhoff, I'm the pastor down at University Lutheran Chapel in Boulder. With 2 kids, 2 daughters, one 4, one 2. And I guess we've technically been homeschooling for those 4 years as well. And learning more about this classical stuff from listening to Dr. Kopp at our church and such has gotten us interested in trying to figure out, do we want to homeschool? Do we want to try and find a classical charter school? Do we want to supplement a Lutheran school with our own teaching? And that's more why we're here, to figure out all of that kind of stuff.
Good. Okay.
Do you have a Lutheran school at your church?
No, we're a campus ministry, so it's just college students and Dr. Kopp, and then me and my wife and our 2 girls. Otherwise, yeah.
And what are the ages of your girls?
4 and 2.
Okay. And that's just like you, Carrie, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have a combined. Here, Karen, you can have that up. Math girl. I'll give you time. Here, let's go. We've got 10 and 10 is 20, 28, 32, 36, 1, 2, 3, 4, 76 combined years of homeschooling. So this is this is a group wisdom sort of a class for sure. Okay, questions about homeschooling, whether to do it.
Yeah.
And that's for both you and Carrie. Yeah. What else?
So is that like pros and cons of homeschooling?
I guess that would be.
Right. Just, yeah. Should we homeschool at all is one question. What other questions do you have about maybe your...
I know about homeschooling other kids, especially as part of your own. Because then others can hear a couple moms.
The biggest one.
So should we add kids? Can you see that through that screen?
That's all right.
Okay, you could move.
I could.
That's
I
fine.
would be able to separate myself completely.
All right.
I guess one of our big questions is we know the advantages of it, but we also, we have what you think are the disadvantages of it. They're not going to have interaction with other kids. They're not going to have all these things. So how, and I know those are probably more just in our head, and that's what.
Okay, we'll get to that, when we get to the answers, right.
So maybe what are the disadvantages and how would one overcome them?
And how do you overcome that?
Right. So I think, that's still in there. Okay. Does anybody else have questions, like about the daily
And are there
schedule?
are there any other specifically classical Lutheran support forums online or groups other than CCLE?
Classical and Lutheran?
Yeah.
No, I don't even need to put that up on the board. This is where it comes together, is classical and Lutheran, and that's what I treasure so much about coming to.
How about everybody else's favorite support?
Okay.
Courses?
So what are some supports for, we could say, classical education, and then what are some maybe Lutheran education kinds of supports, and then of course CCLE. And I would have a question of how can we better support And that's part of the reason I think they asked me to serve last year, is because they really do want to serve homeschoolers, and they didn't have any voice for homeschoolers on the board. They were all school people. So they really are moving in that direction, but they need to know, what do we want? So, what else? Anything else?
Maybe like a curriculum. I know that even though I've been homeschooling for a long time, it's hard to find, well, they need to cover this in, like the first year. And I know that at some of the classical schools, they really push the kids. And it would be nice to know more specific curriculum ideas. And this would be great for the first year. Memorize these 4 poems the first year and these 4 poems the second year. And so maybe. So
kind of like what are the essentials and how rigorous?
Exactly.
Do we need to be?
Because in homeschooling, I found you don't have the competition element that you do in a public school, where, especially with boys, where, because they like competition, but in a homeschool setting, it's not there, and so you have to come up with ideas to get them, to push them, and so we get some ideas on how maybe we do that.
It'd be interesting to see if there's any specifically Lutheran, confessional Lutheran, scope and sequence type.
Again, no. That's why.
Well, you know what? There kind of
that's
is.
Why.
CCH has their. Yeah, I was looking
that's
at
why we ended up putting this together. Because of that very reason.
But have you reviewed all the resources that are in there as far as to compare the? Because, for example, Veritas Press is very reformed.
Oh, I know. No, these are all reviewed.
Well, we're not supposed to answer our questions right now, but
yeah.
there are no decidedly Lutheran classical curriculums out there.
But
right.
You know what, there is, CCH
does
put out a memory work thing, which is something what you're looking for,
and
where they have it by grade K, 1, 2, 3, 4.
But that's not for poems, that's just
no.
catechism.
Yeah, well,
Right.
That's why I was trying to sort out whether you're looking for scope and sequence in general, for education, or
that would be
scope and sequence.
Yeah.
If there were a scope and sequence for a classical Lutheran.
Right.
That would be excellent. And this is great. Because I did get that.
This is a start. And that's Melinda, Pastor Heine's wife. She homeschooled 4 kids, kind of off and on, but they all graduated from West Point. She's just so strong in her belief of homeschooling. And she and I were talking in January saying, there is no curriculum. And everybody asks that. Is there a classical Lutheran K through 12 that I plug them in and I know it's Lutheran and classical, and no, it doesn't exist. And so we realized that we had been going through the Veritas catalog, pulling stuff, finding out, reformed, and putting it back, pulling some stuff and saying, beautiful. And so that's what we tried to do, was to put that in here. And also the moralistic, pietistic stuff that you don't want from some of the Lutheran sources, and we got those out of there too. And if there is a problem, then we say that there is a problem. But this is a start for trying to do what doesn't yet exist.
That would be nice. This would be a curriculum review.
Right.
Specifically Lutheran curriculum review. Possibly. But specifically Lutheran, like the Omnibus series, looking forward to the high school level.
Omnibus is in here with a Lutheran review of it.
Right.
And also Dr. Vies on 4 and 5 has been, So 4 and 5 should be.
And his daughter actually teaches for
Yes, she does. All right, we're kind of getting off track. But the other thing to remember, though, as Dr. Hein says, classical Lutheran education is not curriculum. That's how we're different. It's the teacher. And it's what you want to teach. And then you pull your resources to do what you want to do, but it's under the umbrella of what you want to teach. You're not bound by the book. And so in a way, it's okay that we don't have a set curriculum. It's not going to work for every child anyway.
Right. So, it would be way too financially restricted to try to sell your own.
Someone asked this question, and I'm wondering if this might be a time to talk about it. You just made that presentation about the CCLE accreditation, and someone asked the question, and I was thinking about this question, what's the possibility of getting accreditation for our Lutheran homeschool, and why would we want to do that? What are the advantages and disadvantages of potentially getting CCLE accreditation for homeschool?
Right.
I just threw it out there.
Well, actually,
Question.
we did ask the homeschool working group, and when we get to the answer,
Yeah, that's
then,
okay. We'll just bring
then
it
I'll
up.
tell you, yeah, because there's some interesting responses. I mean,
Yeah. I was
but
listening to
so-
somebody ask that question to Mrs. Veep, and I listened in because it was a question that I had too.
okay, so homeschool accreditation. The other corollary is homeschool teacher certification.
Yes, exactly.
Would we
what
want
I brought up
that?
in that short conversation with you.
Right, because they really are kind of, these processes are going hand in hand. Would we want that? Is
Yeah.
that something we would want CCLE to offer to us?
Teacher cert, well, I got an answer to that.
Okay, still on our brainstorm?
Yeah.
We'll go about 4 more minutes.
I was just wondering if it's good to separate, or if I'm just having trouble, thinking, okay, I'm your teacher now, and then it's like I'm the mom. How do people kind of
Balancing teaching and
did you
mothering.
just coordinate it with your daily schedule?
Yep.
I mean, for me, we have so many interruptions. I always think, how in the world am I going to change this? I have to feed them.
Good question.
Okay, so there are 2 questions, really, the role,
Right.
Yeah.
and then also just the pragmatics, just the logistics of doing, so mom as teacher, how do you be the nurturing mom that says, oh, honey, it's okay, you didn't do so well, and still be the, you have to do your work, how do you do all of that? And then also, logistically, how do you make dinner and teach math and Latin and, and still, and this is also, now I'm going to add this,
Yeah.
life is huge, we
Right.
cannot be mom and teacher
Like
only.
all these vocations coming in.
Yes, right, we definitely have that wife vocation that we can't.
To go along with that, I would like to know how much your husbands help out with the
Excellent
homeschooling,
question.
because that's something
The
that,
role
with
of the
my
father.
schedule as a pastor, it's very flexible. And my wife's schedule, she's a church secretary, is very flexible, where, we could both teach. I could teach Latin or something like that, and then she could, so if any of you have husbands that help out with it, or are they just a full-time worker so you can stay home?
Okay, dad's role, very good.
Good question.
All right, 2 minutes. Any others?
I'd be interested in any experience you guys have with any either online classes or co-ops.
Very good.
Like topic of conversation.
Online courses, co-ops, kind of the farming out of your homeschooling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially at the higher level.
Yes, right. Does it all have to be around the kitchen table through high school? Yeah. Or are there some other options out there?
And for those of you who've done through high school, I'd love to know if it was, how bad it was.
All right, so just
How doable it is, how doable. Very, it's wonderful.
Wonderful.
okay, so just high school in general too.
It's so
Probably
daunting.
quiet. Do you have any questions? You're the one who's answering.
She's waiting for the answer part.
Son is going to answer that question.
Yeah.
My second
I'm about
son.
to try to catch my son soon.
Mine's not the only thing I see.
Oh,
My
okay.
second son comes home from college and tells his sisters to come to not go to the public school. Because he's surrounded by.
Yeah, that's kind of the big.
It's the only, that's right.
Yeah.
Stay there.
I got great, not a short answer.
Oh, I'd also actually be interested in whether you have any sort of collaboration or cooperation or any sort of connection with your actual church, your pastor, your congregation. Well, beyond because what I'm finding is I see this Sunday school program and I think, oh my gosh, it could be so much better. And I'm so tempted to, and I think what I'm going to do is put together, here's what I'll take, if you give me 15 minutes with each one of these groups, I'll do the memory work, because they don't do memory. It's a confessional group, and it's a great church. I don't want to step on, we just, found it recently, so I don't want to step on any toes, but it'd be interesting to know, in your own congregation. And it seems like Wyoming, there are a lot more, well, all the Lutheran schools, I guess, in Wyoming.
I know.
Classes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so I'd be interested in how you.
Okay, so
I guess you don't really need it. It'd be nice if it would support your efforts at home.
Right. How do we work with our church, I guess?
Luther says you need the congregational support of parental teaching if you
And if you don't have it, then what do you do?
I mean, I would have it if I knew how for it.
Okay. Okay. So kind of what,
Like, is there any better way to coordinate? The boys are coming up on confirmation classes, all that kind of stuff. Is there any better way to?
we incorporated that in our homeschool.
That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
They will have memorized all the
Right.
6 parts of the small catechism.
Exactly.
What does this mean section?
Sure, do that in the first.
They've already done that.
Right.
But we
Okay.
still have another year before, they don't start catechism until 7th, in particular.
Okay. So I think that we have identified some questions. So now, let's just start at the top, which is really the essential question. Pros and cons. And unfortunately, this, if you're wondering why I'm not using the obvious word, this is a smart board, and so it's connected to the computer, and so I can't write on it. But smarter than I am. Okay, so let's do pros. Pros of homeschooling.
So just to throw something out there, since you guys haven't really started yet, a lot of people are afraid of homeschooling because you know you have your set expectations already based on your experience in a regular school. But one of the huge advantages of homeschooling is the relationship between you and your kids, and your kids, the relationship between your siblings. I mean, you don't get any of that. I was one of 4 children. We were all a year apart, but we were nowhere near as close as my twins and my daughter. And both my twins are boys, and my daughter is obviously a girl. So you think that there would be some separation there, but there isn't. And the other thing is, it's going to be a lot harder if you send them to school to pull them back out.
Yes.
Because they develop a certain mindset, and so.
The pro, I think, is that homeschooling is really a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I really don't see homeschooling as an educational choice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Homeschooling is really a lifestyle centered around the family. And in one sense, well, this is the answer to a different question.
No, that's okay. We're just, there's.
You know, how do you manage all those roles? Part of me wants to say, despite the fact that classical education has high standards, part of me wants to say, throw away your high expectations and just do it and interact with your children and have your family.
Because in classical education, aren't we trying to get away from the decompartmentalization of all these different subjects anyway?
Yes, it's an integrated life. It really is. That your faith and the learning comes together all day long, weekends too. And I think that fosters the relationship. And I would have said academics when my kids were little, but now seeing my friends who have teenagers, I would say relationship is #1 also. Because there's just no comparison. My kids come up and they hug me for no reason, and they'll just tell me they love me. And you don't see that with the kids who've been through the public schools. It's more like, Mom, and
so many parents will say, oh, I could never be with my kids all day. And it's a true fact. They really, truly would not be able to be with their kids the way those kids are when they come home from school.
Right.
And with the mindset those kids have and the worldview they've developed. Whereas if you have them at home, it's a completely different dynamic.
And you need to develop that Christian worldview. You really
Right,
do.
you do.
That's the whole.
And it's not separate. That's why I wanted to homeschool, because I didn't want faith to be a completely separate group from life and education.
Right.
They spend 8 hours of their day in school, and they don't see the mention of God or anything. And, we as parents treat it as, homeschool is very important. Pay attention to your teachers, do your best work. And it's like, well, we're going to pour all that energy into school. What is the child going to come away with? Subconsciously, well,
when you try to
my most important task, but there's no creator there, there's no God, there's no.
let me just interrupt for a second so that you don't think you've walked into the snack room or something. This is actually an organized session. What we have done is we have introduced ourselves and have told how many years we've been homeschooling, and we totaled 76 years combined. So we also generated some questions, and we're working now on the answers to those questions as a group with our combined experience. Do you homeschool?
Yes, I have an 8, almost 9-year-old, and just love it.
And what's your name?
Becky.
Okay, I have to add Becky. And have you homeschooled the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you mentioned the cons, or what's bad about it, and typically the answer to that is the whole socialization realm. That's a total myth. What you need to really question is when someone says, "Oh, what are you going to do about socialization?" You need to say, "Well, what do you mean by socialization?" Because if they mean your kids won't be around 20 of their peers most of the day, they're absolutely right. If you mean by socialization, learning how to become a Christian, Lutheran citizen of the world and understand how families operate, if that's your definition of socialization, with some skills to be able to communicate with other people of all ages. What do you say?
And having manners.
Yeah.
Like not interrupting people.
Yeah. then you have no choice but to homeschool. We have this law in Minnesota which says that our homeschool high school kids can participate in sports. Be that as it may, right or wrong, we made the choice. It's important to us. And I had a coach taught my 2 kids, my 2 boys were talking to with a coach, and the coach said to this other kid, "There's something different about those Shield boys. They're interacting with their peers, they're interacting with coaches, and people are noticing there's something different." We used to live in town, kitty corner, an evangelical reform family with 5 kids homeschooling. Their son now just as a senior participated in track. Everybody loves him. He is having no problem. And that family is much more cloistered than our family was. They maintained a little bit higher rate on their kids. And as a senior, he is doing just fine. Their oldest son went off to college. He's not having any problems.
What I find is there's a lot more opportunity for good socialization.
Yeah.
The bad.
Right. Because when in real life are you ever going to be with 20 other people that are your same age? That is not realistic.
Or forced to be with that with a certain person as opposed to choosing.
These are kids who can interact with the elderly, with parents. Homeschool kids can look you in the eye and say, "Hi, how are you?" and carry on a conversation. People realize that about my kids and other homeschool kids.
They're all very engaged.
They know how to engage young children. They know how to engage adults. They know how to engage their peers. It's just not an issue.
And the same age peer group thing is nice because of that. We have many different groups that we go to, so he's not stuck with the same 20 peers. You've got this group of 8, 9-year-olds and this group of 6 to 10-year-olds, or we're constantly moving, and sometimes we actually have to rein it in and stay home. So keep it in the home.
I think a bigger disadvantage for us has been where do I find the other Lutheran kids so that my children don't feel isolated as Lutherans. Let me explain. We lived in central Wisconsin. My kids did go to a Lutheran school for a while, and then we moved to the seminary. Because we had 4 kids, we could not afford to put our kids in Lutheran school at $2,000 each, and then for me to go teach somewhere else and be distracted. So we chose that. That's when we began our homeschooling. And we were surrounded by other seminarians who were doing the same thing. So my kids had other Lutherans. And then my husband became the pastor of a mission congregation. And there are virtually no children in our congregation. So my kids were really isolated as Lutherans. So then we about after 3 years, we came out of that experience was kind of enough to hold us on. And then a seminary family moved an hour away, and we found out that the pastor in Duluth was homeschooling, so we started sort of networking every 3 months or so, getting together just so the kids could know that there were other Lutheran kids.
Out there.
Yeah, there were other Lutheran kids, not for the point of teaching, but just
Well, and that would be a con, is that a lot of people who homeschool are fundamentalists.
yeah.
There are a lot of Roman Catholics in our
Yeah.
particular town that homeschool and very strong in they teach their doctrine. And, I mean, our kids had arguments about the number of sacraments, things like that. It can be helpful, but it is really nice to have some like-minded Lutheran friends that are homeschooling.
There's also a lot of spiritual people homeschooling, whatever you want to call them.
Like Pentecostal or something?
No. I mean non-religious, spiritual, back to nature, I'm going to do it my own way kind of people.
Yeah.
And so I'm just tacking that onto what Cheryl said, to find Lutheran children.
And that's most of the homeschoolers in Boulder are more that kind of pagan, mystical weirdness.
And then they're going to lean towards the unschooling.
Yeah.
Have you heard that term?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're much more into unschooling.
Yeah.
We'll just live our, and so.
And you can learn things from those people, but I'm just saying one of the cons was knowing that it's okay to be Lutheran and a child, or something like that.
Right, yeah. So the cons are you do need to seek out like-minded people.
But you also, in Scripture, does it ever happen?
Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Where there's this, Abraham raising Isaac, he wasn't around anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
One of them.
It is.
One of the, it's funny because of all the things I love about homeschooling, I'm finding that one of the cons, there's couple little things, but one of them is having to drive so far sometimes to get to, like we are in a choir half hour away, so trying to consolidate that. My big one is a gym to play in. It's weather sad in the winter, because we live in Wisconsin, and so if it's raining or snowing or whatever, it's really, really cold or, something like that. Because I taught, and so I'm used to having that.
Oh, yeah, that outlet.
Go run in the gym for an hour.
Exactly.
That's what we're doing at our church.
Our
Our church has a pool that emptied out and closed down in 1974. Our tiny little church of 40 people, all of us homeschool.
Ooh.
And people are coming to our church now because we homeschool. And we started using that school building and gym for the things that we need to do to have that socialization and the gym time. This is where
A good friend of mine is lives in Wisconsin and has homeschooled from all the way now. Her daughter is at Mequon.
Okay.
And they set up a gym in their downstairs for that very reason. They have a swing set and everything, but use that in August.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, she had pull-up bars, and they installed exercise equipment, and that became part of their day. We do the same thing. We have an elliptical and a treadmill downstairs because my kids need daily exercise at 16, and I'm not going to go driving them all over creation all the time. So sometimes we just get it done. And actually, we put in Latin DVDs. That's what they watch, for review, and so you can combine the exercise with. Yeah.
We solved that problem by being a family of runners and skiers. So we just strap on our running shoes and ski, and we ski all winter and run all summer. We run all winter too. So avoid the gym. Get outside. Drive and ski in your.
Go run.
Put your best boots on.
Okay, so the pros and cons, and I think another pro answers the mom-teacher question. I think it's easier being mom and teacher, honestly, than having a child come back and say, my teacher didn't tell me to do it that way. You don't know what you're doing. You are the authority for everything in the home, and that makes it so much easier.
And then there's people where you're at the mercy of that teacher's schedule, so if they assign a major paper, and you have definite penalty to that. As a homeschool mom, you say, okay, we'll do that. Or if they're up all night with asthma, and they have to go either go and suffer through and do all the work, or
Although I remember one of my Mother's Day cards in the boys, and one of them wrote on there that they liked, it was just the way he worded it about me as a teacher. And it was just the way it came across as that's what he was seeing.
My mom is like
So I guess be careful. Be mom.
Yeah, that is, and wife, like we're saying.
Life is actually first.
I know.
That's our first rule.
Right.
Husband comes first before our kids.
Right.
My daughter went to regular school. In high school, she really struggled because they wanted her to do things that she knew that she learned from pastor and going through, you know, that she knew was wrong. And she put her foot down and she said, "I'm not taking that test. Mom, I don't care if I fail that class. I do not believe it came from H. I do not believe in all that." And she just refused to do it. And then another assignment she was supposed to say, if you could have plastic surgery, what plastic surgery would she like? Isn't that horrible? So I said, "Well, honey," she said, "you have to do the project, but do it what God says." And so she wrote a whole page on how God makes her perfect. She's perfect in God's eyes, just the way she is. And she got an A on it.
Through Christ Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wish I had that. We didn't do that for her.
So 3 pros, I think, is flexibility. Would be one for the child's needs, the family needs. And they have vocations too. If they are granddaughter and grandma is sick, and you can go visit grandma for a half of a day and do your math in the afternoon instead of the morning, you have that flexibility to do that.
The flexibility of, if your child is good in one area, you can move and faster.
Right,
Or if
right.
this curriculum isn't working, you can switch out to a different curriculum that works better for them, which you can't do as a teacher at school. And and then the opportunity to do things on their own, self-initiated learning.
Yes.
They learn so much better. I mean, they have extra time to do that.
Right.
So they learn a lot.
That's more of a, that's one of my big things for homeschooling, is active as opposed to the passive spoon feeding they get in the classroom.
Very good,
And in the classroom, they just, I mean, they are passive. They're told what they need to learn. They're told, oftentimes, I think, in the classroom, when you're in lockstep, everybody's having learned the same thing at the same test, you spit out the same stuff.
I think one thing also, thinking about Carrie, I think sometimes if we think about the work that we have to do as mothers and wives as part of the curriculum, that can be helpful. I remember when we were in Fort Wayne and all 4 kids were home, we had a real small house, and every morning everybody worked for 20 minutes to clean the house. Small house, that house was the most spotless we had. And in the process, you're training your children how to do daily tasks and how to take care of themselves. Lunchtime, as the kids got older, everybody had a day when it was their lunchtime. And so they're learning those kinds of skills that if they're off somewhere else during the day, they don't learn that. They don't, my daughter, for the last 7 years, has been responsible for the entire family's laundry from the age of, I don't know what that would make, 12 to 18. And she willingly did that.
And you don't have to have some contrived class called home
No,
home education, what am I thinking?
Home economics.
Yes, home economics, right. You don't have to have that.
And so instead of doing it as, I can't get all my work done as a mother because I'm teaching, again, it's sort of that integrated, how can I engage the children in this task, and how can I use it in a worthwhile manner to educate them, and how can, it's the family getting their work done.
Yeah, that's very good. We'll do.
I'm saying sometimes you can do academics during the
Yeah.
we have children memory, so I used to sing the Faith CD, and he drives dishes while I watch, and we listen to the CD over and over, and I tell him more, and he passes them. Or you're folding clothes, something that he can do 2 things at once.
Right.
So flexibility and then integration. I think the fact that you integrate everything all at once all day.
And so the father's role too, it was my husband's job because I was burnt out. He was doing school most of that time, but he would do the read alouds at night before the kids went to bed. He also did some of the Bible story stuff then. We were at a field church 45 minutes away, so if we got behind on our read alouds, every Sunday, 45 minutes there, we could get 2 or 3 days worth of read aloud time done in one book, and on the way home, we read aloud a different book for a different student level. And so it just, to become that integrated. But when they were littler, it was his job to do the read aloud at night, and he loved it. You know, that
My husband too, that's what he did with literature. From the time they were little, he's reading the Dickens and Tolkien, and we didn't have a scope and sequence for that or anything. You know, he just said, this is what we're going to do. And
I don't think it matters specifically what the father does. I think it matters that he does something.
Yeah.
And then it's your family.
Yeah.
It should be whatever he's most passionate about.
Sure.
Right. Like, I like literature, so, you know,
Yes.
I love grammar. I love math.
Yes.
You know, so it's hard for your child to hate it if you love it.
That's
So
so
if
true.
you're going to ask your husband to teach Latin, but he doesn't know Latin,
Yeah.
or doesn't want to,
Right.
then it's kind of foolish. But anything that they love, and the more they can ask the child about, oh, what do you know Latin, you know that, you know what that root is in Latin, you just show, you know, that's the hugest thing.
Yeah.
Because it validates what your wife is doing, it
Yeah,
validates the work
validation
they're
is important.
doing, and it builds a relationship between the father and the kid.
Asking
It's
questions.
it's not just skills that you're teaching when you're teaching home economic type stuff. It's not just how to do laundry or whatever. Yeah, you get that. The most important thing you get out of that is that character building, that sense of responsibility, and so on, and the relationship is built between the people all working together to create a family.
yeah, it's very good.
And I think the problem with a lot of dads is that they don't. They're so separated because it's hard for my husband.
And simple questions.
Non-flexible.
At the supper table or whenever you're home.
Yes.
If you're not home at supper, if you're home at lunch, whatever. It's just, oh, what did you learn today? Or what did you learn about the Romans today? Or what book are you reading? I mean, it can be really easy, and even if you don't know what's going on, you can still engage your children in questioning and show support.
A lot of pastors do the Latin and Greek for their families, and that's a big help.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
It's
an important thing.
The head of the household,
Yeah. And I would also suggest that just as the women's first role is to our husbands, that our husband's first role is to the wife. And so a beautiful thing that my husband set down way early was date night. Every Saturday night was our date night. Yeah, because he needed to take care of me. I didn't set it up, he did, but he wanted to nurture me. Okay, and so you need to. That's your first job. It is.
You are taking notes.
I think I take the most notes out of all the sections.
People don't realize that even in our K through 6, we had 6 last year. We had some older students, and they do their work right next to little ones doing their work. And the teacher will ask the older one, a question, and the little one, they're like, they're like, oh no, we know it, and she's like, he needs to get it, And so people don't understand that. In that old time, the old home way, that was the best way of learning. They learn off each other.
There you go. I think another part of the father's role is somehow or other to maintain a relationship with your children, or each of your children somehow, separately. Because your support of validating each one of your children is then beneficial for whoever's doing the teaching. Does that make any sense?
What about efficiency? That was one of the reasons I got into it in the beginning. People say, oh, I don't know how you can homeschool, and I think, I don't know how you do, all that. You have to have cupcakes,
diorama,
you gotta
the
have
box full of shoe boxes with an umpteen diorama for the social studies.
That's right. I mean, we put our schedule on the board, we go boom, 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 we do our Latin, our math, then fold laundry to take a break from academics, and then we get back right in and we go through the day, and then they have a lot of leisure time, like you're saying, for pursuit.
And that'd be the other question is, do the kids know they're being homeschooled? And they know, okay, now this is the time that it's school and the schedule for it.
No.
Because
Or do
learning
you
is not
just
from
go
K
through?
through 3.
Oh, no, I disagree. My boys love a schedule.
Me too.
Or no, do you know that this is school and this is not? Education is all the time.
We know Latin is this.
Right, you have a time for, and I'm very, on Sundays, I would spend my time on the computer setting up this week's schedule. Yes, I'm very schedule oriented, but learning is
Learning takes on all the time.
all the time.
Right.
But if you're talking about specific content, subject matter.
Even then, though, because you've got to be able to weave it in wherever you're at.
Well, that's what I find.
My
I find I
kids
have my
had,
subject
this
matter
is a
and-
practical how-to. My kids had a schedule that was typed up for the week, and every day they had everything. And I put it in a general order because I found I didn't want to switch between 4 different kinds of math. So I said, okay, we're going to do math generally at this time. Did it always work? No. But they knew that if they wanted my attention, this is when I was most willing to. It didn't mean that I didn't do math at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It just meant
I do the same thing. I can help you before 4:30. After
Yes.
4:30, I have to make dinner,
That's
and
one of
my
my
brain
hard
doesn't
parts,
work
because
anymore.
my boys, they'll get up early, and they'll get started on their
Yeah.
checklist, but I found that they'll leave some stuff that they know I hate until the afternoon when I'm dead, by 4 o'clock,
Right.
I'm
Did by 1.
Yeah. And when I should tell them, because I am available until this time to do that work. And otherwise, you're going to be on your own doing it at night. Or you
Right.
can wait till night when I perk back up at, 7.
Yeah, one is
Right, if I get a
what you're
second
getting
one.
at, though, is a bigger thing, which is the kids. I'm not sure my kids perceived it as school in those younger ages. As
Yeah.
they got up into junior high and high school, and they're doing more. That sounds horrible. More rigorous things.
Well, stuff out of the book and they're doing.
I don't know. It
Yeah.
became, they were more accountable to university professors. But it was really just a lifestyle.
Mhm.
I don't know how to explain that.
You know what helps make a lifestyle is that because you're learning with them,
Yeah.
you're doing the material with them, you're doing the read alouds with them,
Right.
you've got a shared foundation of experience.
Right.
Yes.
And
Yes.
points to go back to.
Right.
So in, like literature, for example, when we read Percy Jackson, we remember Theseus. Do you remember, what happened? What are the parallels with Achilles and now in Percy Jackson or whatever? And we've got that shared experience, whereas if they were in school, I taught school for 4 years when I first got out of college. I was like, and you don't have that shared experience. You don't know what's going on in the classroom. And your children, somebody mentioned this, your students respect you more than their parents. So I had at least a couple of parents come in and say, I believe everything you say. And I said, well, you just tell them that's not, like one came home, he was a first grader, he thought, and I had told them, I have eyes in the back of my head. And it just says that, I happened to say it, and I used it with him because I could see his reflection as he was sticking crayons up his nose. Oh, Christopher, take the crayons out of your nose. And he looked, and I wasn't looking at him. And she had the heart, and one time, I was sitting there for reading group, and I feel this little finger going through my hair. But anyway, yeah. Looking for my eyes.
So as a homeschool mom, you get that same awe.
Yeah, well, you don't
As
have
a teacher.
You have the respect.
Yes,
as
you do.
somebody knowledgeable.
Right.
But
But when you were saying,
I like the shared experience.
Right.
It builds a relationship.
and you know what they know, so
Right.
when you go to McDonald's, you know if they can read hamburger or whatever or not.
And what they're working on. So if
Yes.
they're working on percent, okay, we have to see
Right.
what's 10%.
You know when they can add
You
up.
can't make those connections. So to
Yes.
that, like a lifestyle, teaching isn't restricted to whatever. But
And so they get that review all the
yeah,
time.
that review that's practical and relevant.
Right.
When they see something that's actually relevant to what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You see an animal and you learn what phylum contains that animal, then, 2 years later, 3 years later, you go, oh, what phylum is actually, you go through, well, it's like that. Nice area, so.
I'm just kind of curious, how do your kids explain to other children that they might see at the homeschool? How?
And in our area, it's really well, there aren't a lot of bad experiences with homeschoolers in our area. So our, people will ask, well, why aren't you in school? You got to lay off, or you're sick, whatever, and he'll just say, oh, no, we homeschool. And people are really supportive of that. Oh, great, I'm so glad that you do
I know we were the only kids who were participating in sports. I don't know if we were the first. My second son was reading a book, a fairly large one, on maybe Adolf Hitler, maybe Winston Churchill, some person's biography in 9th grade on the basketball bus. And they didn't know where this kid had come from. But his friend said, oh, what are you reading? He told him. Well, why are you reading it? Because I want to. And his friend said, you mean your mom's not making you read that? I mean, they were stunned. So, and then another time, my daughter was reading, and her friends on the, I think it's another basketball team, I don't know what that says about basketball kids, but they said, well, how many books do you read a year? I think we've read one, the public school kids said, and I think it was, I mean, they have these kinds of conversations, and my kids, I don't know why they're confident, and they're not bothered by those. There's now a thing among families, in our family, in the community, homeschool jokes, purposely, sarcastically, with a great sense of humor about, oh, you must have been homeschooled because you don't know that, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's really comical, and I mean that in the most positive sense, because my daughters then, the other families expect to get the opposite, which is, oh, that's because you've been public school. I mean, it's really a fun, friendly banter as they've gotten to know our family and gotten to know the benefits of homeschooling. We say fun. Yeah.
I hate that though. I hate things like that.
I do too.
Oh my gosh. I think that's so embarrassing.
I'm with you.
You've gotten to know us, and so it's
perfectly good humor.
I don't.
Well, going back to
each other.
Going back to carrying the big books just because you weren't too, a love of learning.
Yeah.
That's a huge reason to homeschool.
But because they've learned, they've been able to spend time learning what they want to learn. My kids learned, my boys got into rock. And that's another thing. You find things that you might not personally be interested in, or that I went, or some teacher went to been interested in, and they would never have had an opportunity to find out they were interested in rock.
I taught for 3 years, and then I tutored for 12, and I worked with students from the school that I taught at. And the thing that just makes me sad is that it was a very good school, but for so many of those children, they weren't ready for whatever it is that they were trying to be taught, and that's what turns off learning. I'm convinced now. They have to learn it now. They're not ready. Child developmentally, whatever, they're ready for this yet. They have to learn it so that they can get the next step in the next year, and you just have to keep doing that. And
It's especially true, I think, for boys. Schools are not built for boys.
Well,
There's a great book by Leonard Sapp, who's a pediatrician PhD, and he's looked at physical differences between boys and girls. And it's just, you read that and you think, my gosh, no wonder. You know, I knew schools were not good for boys, and now I see why.
I didn't understand it. I thought it was because when I thought it was because maybe their moms didn't have them sit in color enough when they were 3. You know, and now, I mean, he seriously wouldn't have made it because he was reading at, I don't know what level, he started reading at 2.5, so by 3.5 he was reading books. But he was all over the place. He was never still.
Yeah.
You know, I find him, he'd be constant motion. I don't know how he did it, but he was never still. It doesn't work.
So now in the regular school environment, we've gotten in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
I think part of also
drugs.
We're wondering if the kids perceive themselves as being different being homeschooled. I think another part of that is we're in a mission congregation, and so my children see themselves as missionaries as well, not just of their Christian faith, of their Lutheranism, but they also see themselves as missionaries of homeschooling.
Or ambassadors.
Ambassadors,
Yeah.
Is that a better word?
Yeah.
And so when they get asked questions like, do you have to get dressed in the morning? Do you wear your pajamas so early?
They love to explain it.
Yeah, they'll explain and say, no, we get dressed like everybody else. I mean, they just see themselves as ambassadors for their lifestyle, for their faith, for their education, and they just shrug it off, and they'll come home and talk about it and say, isn't that a ridiculous concept that we don't get dressed in the morning?
Especially now, as 2 of my 3 sons have gotten married, and the first kisses they got married when they at the wedding, and they're looking at their friends from the Lutheran youth group that got pregnant out of wedlock and stuff like that, and they're like, we're glad we did it this way.
Wow. But there's a flip side to that too, which I found in the church I was at previously, where there was a lot of, it felt like, I was only homeschooled, for example, and it felt like there was pressure from even the pastors to, your child should be in the public school so that they can be solid in life.
Yeah.
We didn't have, there's public stuff now, I know.
Yeah.
But you should be out there, be salt and light, and you're getting that pressure from your church.
Right.
Maybe that's part of it.
And I didn't mean pressure, but they perceive that as one of their vocations.
Yeah, no, I know,
Yeah.
I understand that, and
Yeah.
you guys being pastor and pastor's wives understand,
Yeah.
you know, that they're being salt and light just by being.
Just by being who they are, where they are.
Exactly,
You ask them
because
also.
they are different, you do notice kids.
Yeah, and we didn't intentionally go out to make them missionaries, but just
Right.
wherever they were.
They learn from what their
That was-
environment
But
was.
I wish, I don't know, you know, not just the church, if the pastor himself hadn't been so, well, your child, they really should be salt
Don't
and
you
light
think-
like my
That
children.
sounds like a pastor who sent his own kids to public school and
He
tried to
did, he
justify
sent them to
it.
public
Yeah.
school as opposed to
That's
the
just a personal thing, I
Yeah.
wouldn't worry
And so
about
did you ask,
that.
did you ask
Okay.
about taking the sapling out into a big storm and how long it would hold up?
Well, no, I look at Jesus, when did he go out and start, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
ministering
there's
to the
a
world?
good book that addresses that, and they call it the greenhouse effect. When you have a little sapling, you keep them in a greenhouse, and until they're ready to be transplanted.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you nurture and everything, yeah.
That's why I think it doesn't bother them, because they develop a sense of self before they go out. They have a very strong sense of their own identity, what's important, what's valuable, what's virtuous, and what's true, as opposed to always having the babies, you know, the little preschoolers that have to defend themselves against. I mean, I even watch the kids, you know, the pastor's kids who told me this, I'm thinking, yeah, here, because they wanted me to take their little kindergartner, and he was so sweet, and then I see his brother who's up here in 3rd grade, and completely different, you know, completely different.
One thing I noticed about homeschools in general, they do tend to seem to have more of a sense of confidence. You know,
Yes.
like, and even like when Jeff was little, he looked at me one day and said, you know, you and Daddy are pretty smart for not having been homeschooled.
All right, so we are here.
No.
Number one, since we homeschool, the pros and cons. Okay, we have only, about 6 minutes. We really should have had more like a 3-hour thing for this.
Yeah, you should do that next
But-
year. Yeah, have a larger.
Okay, well, you know, we've got this
Or
evaluation.
optional sessions after the, whatever.
Right, evenings or something.
Yeah.
But we do have the form, so be sure to jot that down if you'd like that. Okay, what are some things we definitely want to hit before we move on?
I would like to hit the teacher and homeschool accreditation and certification.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just
Well,
because, I mean, as an optional thing,
Right.
because I think it would help for me to know what is classical education and how do we do it. I think one of the things that I feel like is I'm floundering, like I put out to sea and now I'm in the middle of this ocean, I have no idea. No,
I think that's under how can we better support CCLE, you know.
How does CCLE better support us?
Yeah. But if
Right.
there was some forum, an online forum where we could share ideas and experiences that taught these kinds of roundtable
And then the
type
curriculum
things.
thing kind of comes under that, with that too, because we can share ideas for curriculum.
And
That's
experiences
right.
with different curriculum.
And it really could be sort of a scope and sequence. What Jackie did with the schools is she had benchmarks that the schools had to meet, and what it did was it outlined things that you should be doing. And so it helps to, if you're too narrow about I'm just doing this, it helps you remember, oh yes, I need to be doing the catechesis or whatever it is. And so you have your benchmarks.
Could we as homeschoolers get their accreditation packet?
Criteria,
Saying
yeah.
how that
Give
might
them that
send
information.
schools? And then we might, and then we
Yeah,
can
you
each
can-
individually see how it might be
Yeah.
a benefit to us?
And
Okay.
if you guys would
We
do
can
an
do that.
accreditation or a certification, I think that might be beneficial for getting into colleges. I mean, so far, nobody's ever had any problem with it, but if there should ever come a time where,
That's right.
you know, the liberal agenda would win, then
That's right.
we would have, these are our credentials.
I'm
Right.
also wondering, I already have a teaching certificate and I already have a bachelor's degree, but I know that there's a little thing in our Minnesota homeschooling law that says if you don't have a bachelor's degree, then you, or a teaching license, then you have to turn in, maybe, I don't know, then you have to turn in your grades. All I'm saying is that sometimes there are different rules in different states regarding what you do in your homeschool based on whether or not you have a teaching license or certification.
right.
And so in some ways, if we could get teacher certifications, it might help us jump different hoops state level, that would be
It
more
might.
conducive.
I think usually they want, if they're doing that, they're wanting the state
Yeah, I'm not sure.
certification,
I'm
but
not
it's
sure.
possible. One thing one gal said is that as a homeschool mom, when she finishes, she's still gonna be fairly young, and she would like to teach in a classical Lutheran school when her children are older. And you don't need to go through the state process for
Right.
that, but if you're CCLE certified, then
I can also see a benefit in, like, with the LSA connection, being able to use like a teacher resource center, or, for example, I have friends who homeschool from a certain church, and their church won't let them use their facilities for certain things, or join their football team, or whatever. And this might be one way, well, I'm an accredited Lutheran school, through CCLE.
Right. And you can get your discounts at Borders and
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble.
Right.
I'll use my book. Oh, that's, see,
You
that's
can
an
do that
idea.
also.
I mean, I can
You
do
can
it
do that
already,
already,
but might,
yeah.
so.
Right, but it
But
might
it
be
might
easier
be
if we all had a card,
Yes, it might be
that
some
we could
benefit.
carry around.
Yeah. And
The only concern on that I have,
Establishment.
we've been talking about
Yeah.
that online, and the only concern that I've seen being raised is those of us, or those homeschool parents who don't go along with that accreditation or further education for themselves. We don't want to make them feel like, oh, you're not as good as the ones who have gotten
So
accredited.
you can't not make an opportunity available just because you
Right.
don't want to hurt feelings.
Right, but I still want to make sure that, you know what, even though some of us are trained as teachers, not all homeschoolers are trained as teachers, but you know what, we're all good at being teachers.
Right. And it is education, that's the whole thing. Classical Lutheran education is bigger than any certification that we
Right.
could come up with anyway, and it is all about the teacher. So,
But if nothing else,
it
it would
just-
create a peer group for us as parents of homeschooling classical Lutheran,
Right.
either teachers or,
right, and that's with or without certification.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there isn't a discount. Like you said, it doesn't exist now.
Right. Okay.
Part of this was the whole, whether or not there's a curriculum out there. I'm not sure I did classical education. I'm not sure I didn't. I'm not sure I did or didn't. I know what my values are and what I was trying to accomplish, and I wouldn't want someone to not homeschool from a classical Lutheran approach just because they felt that they didn't know completely what it meant.
Yes, that's true.
That's part of what this is intended to do, right? There's a lot of natural reason.
I mean, I just think that the relationships that you build with your children and the I lost the word, and the perpetuating of your faith is so much more important than whether or not you're doing it right or wrong.
Well,
Or
what
specifically classical.
What I say is, I homeschool with an increasingly classical and Lutheran approach. And
It's like sanctification.
Yes, right.
I think what this would do is give people confidence, because I've
Yeah,
talked to some people
yeah.
who are afraid to homeschool because they don't know how, and you just say, well, you just do it, but they're like,
Yeah.
Give me a map.
Yeah,
Give me a
so this
map.
would be kind of a blueprint. You
Right.
can follow it or not, but I think those connections are going to be made anyway, whether you're following the blueprint or.
And then with some of the schools that are classically certified, if they had scope and sequences, because I'm sure they do, if you could have access to some of those, even if not just to get good ideas on what they're doing, and then you can kind of pick and choose from those different schools.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Or reinforcement that, yeah, I am on the
Yeah,
right
exactly.
track.
Are you doing enough? I'm always afraid, am I doing enough? Could I be doing more, or?
Right, what do you cover in a year in your first grade at Martin Luther
Right.
Grammar?
And the
Is
Martin
it
Luther
really
Grammar
done?
or Mount
Yeah.
Hope and Casper, what do they do with their first graders? Then if that, somehow we had access to those.
You can get access to Highlands Latin School, which is classical. You can get access to Logos School, Scope and Sequence.
Right, yeah, but if they have it on the CCLE.
Yes.
I know, that's
Yeah,
right, that's right, that's right. That's why they do this.
Scope and
CCLE should
sequences of
have a
each
forum
school.
to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
have an
Do it or not
active
do
forum.
it.
Exactly, yeah, then you could pick and choose
Right,
from
yeah,
the different
that's even
schools.
better.
Right.
If they would be willing
Yeah.
to, they may want to charge. You know what?
No, they wouldn't charge you.
No, they would be willing to, they just
They
have
have
enough,
something
there's
we
no
would-
forum to do that. Right,
Yeah.
yeah, they just have it available on the website in one spot.
Right.
That would be great.
Okay, that's very good. All right, and we are out of time. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Cheryl.
And we will try to set something up online so that we can continue these sorts of things, sorts of discussions.
There is Martin Luther's, but that's very chatty.
It's not like chatty, it's anti-classical is what I've heard.
No,
What is?
I don't think that.
What is? You don't think that's true?
Have you been on it? I think so.
Oh, yeah.
I actually got off of the group.
Yeah, I know it's too chatty, so I stopped.
It depends on who's talking.
Yeah, there's at least 2 or 3
Oh, yeah.
women who are really.
Well, Kay Maywald is on there.
Yeah.
Right. So that's true, but we do need something where we don't have to feel like we're defending ourselves or anything. We're
Well,
we
that's
all
the thing,
are-
that's why CCLE, if it is a clearinghouse, you're classical and Lutheran, then that's where it should be, but I know it's not there now.
Right.
And it cannot possibly be that hard to set up. I mean, even if it's just a Yahoo group that you link to.
Right.
You know?
Right. I think that was the whole thing, they were waiting for this wiki. No,
Yeah,
there's so many other
that's what they
options.
mentioned, yeah,
I
they're
know.
just like, that
Google
could be
has
forever,
different
I
options,
know.
all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff that's already out there. You can
Right.
just use.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right.
And all these, I mean, we especially as moms, more isolated than the teachers who are in schools and have that support built in.
Right.
It'd be nice to even, just an open forum to.
I wanted to make one comment, if I may, on the co-op option, farming out stuff. My caution would be that less is more.
That's true. You don't want to do so many things because you're not doing anything well.
And you lose that one-on-one with your kids when you do the co-op thing. A lot of times in the co-op, they want you to teach.
Yes.
And so then you're doing that, and
they're not
classical.
classical.
And I said,
And then
no.
suddenly you become fragmented and you may as well send your kid off.
And they're working all the rest of the week on homework to get this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and you lose that one.
But that's one thing where you have to, you pick and choose. You don't just dive. We do classical conversations. I actually I directed a classical conversation group because I wanted that kind of community gear up, but they're mostly neo-evangelical.
Yeah.
We just thank you, blah, blah, blah. But it was hugely, my kids, especially my introvert, quiet, don't talk at all boys, loved it.
Now, was that on online thing?
No,
or-
local conversation is a national group, and you can have your own, you can set up your own campus. The problem is that it's funded.
I'm going to
and all
print
that.
training for that. It's kind of.
Yeah, the training is not nearly as good as, are you doing one? Are you signed up? You are signed up for one? To belong to one? Your boy will love it. It's a grammar level. I'm going to do the essentials.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Very good idea.
Thank you for all that.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Actually,
It's been really fun. I've been at home for 15 years, just being at home, so it's nice to do grown-up things.
something else, yeah.
So even after all this years of experience.
My son will be very interested.
Yeah.
I really wanted to start on the
Are you the doorkeeper? Can we go out now?
Yeah.
What's your
You know,
Thank you very much.
When you become more, you're becoming increasingly push it open as they get older, is it because of your experience? You know how to read it? Yeah, okay.
You just learn more.
I was wondering if it was because they're older and it's a particular concept,
No, I
or if
just
it's
made
because
it
you're not
clear.
better.
No, it's just that
You're getting it in.
I'll get it out.
Yes, you can find it, okay.
And I go back and they that much more.
Further along the, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I,
So, are you're not in the working day? As a point, right?
I don't think,
Would
I don't know what
you
it
want it to
is.
be your email?
Oh, yeah, no, I'd love to
Maybe
get there.
I would love to be connected with them.
Because I didn't go to the meeting this morning because I thought I was just in the way. Yeah, I'm not.
It was informational about lots of things.
I know, I think the week I should have done, but then I have my 2 kids.
Oh, where's your brother?
Drinking water.
And after the year.
Yeah, boy, community type classical Lutheran.
So if you could.
Yeah,
Community.
Hello.
like I have.
Yeah.
Regularly, and
I mean,
You want to more meet people, I think it's very possible you can get.
it's definitely a huge movement, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know the name from Take My Land.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't really feel like we have to, like, if we had a couple people, like, sure, we would do it. But,
It's such a good group of women, I love it, but it's just too chatty to keep up with.
I know, the time. Well,
Yeah.
people ask, you know, are you on Facebook? Are you kidding?
I know, somebody was, it was Pastor Kay said, well, we have the thing on Facebook. I was like, I don't do Facebook, it's there's no time.
I know.
You
And when
know?
I do have time, I want to be with, I don't want to say real people, but, you know, I want to sit and have lunch with somebody face to face, you know?
Yes, yeah, that's never going to happen for us classical Lutheran, finding another class.
Oh, no,
one other
I
classical
just mean,
Lutheran homeschoolers.
that's true, just,
But that's why
true.
like a group where, that's why it's great if CCLE had a forum for people like us who are focused and have the same sorts
Right,
of questions
and even though it
issues
is-
and experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though it isn't face to face, it's still.
Right, it's still
Yeah.
hugely, it's like the well-trained mind boards, I like those.
Yeah, I do too,
But only the
some,
curriculum.
but I know.
Because, yeah, but that's the closest I can get to a real classical.
I know, but she so intentionally avoids religion
Yeah.
that,
But
it is,
glad
it is.
that it looks like they're, evangelicals too, so.
that's true.
Well, it was nice to meet you, Yvonne.
You too. Thank you so much. You're welcome.